Hey, it's Ryan Seacrest. Life comes at you fast, which is why it's important to find some time to relax. A little you time. Enter Chumba Casino. With no download required, you can jump on anytime, anywhere for the chance to redeem some serious prizes. So treat yourself with Chumba Casino and play over 100 online casino-style games, all for free. Go to ChumbaCasino.com to collect your free welcome bonus. Sponsored by Chumba Casino. No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
In Pennsylvania, killer fugitive Michael Burham is caught after 9 days on the run. In Fargo, an officer is shot and killed while investigating a traffic accident. And in Long Island, New York, a serial killer is caught, and it may be the last person you would expect. These stories and more coming at you today, Wednesday, July 19th, on Real Life Real Crime Daily, and I'm Jim Chapman.
And I'm Woody Overton.
And I'm Mike Agovino. Hey, guys.
What's up?
Happy Hump Day.
Happy Hump Day.
It's a day of humping.
Day of humping.
What you think, Mike?
For some of us, I guess.
Yeah.
I didn't
Even
see
if
that.
You're humping yourself.
I didn't see that on Jerry Ann's schedule this morning before I left. I tried to pencil it in, but I don't know that's happening.
You got to stay in touch with yourself, too.
That's right. That's right. Nobody can fault you for that.
Let's get down to some true crime time, my people.
Well, and on the top of the list, y'all, Rambo is in custody.
Yeah. Old Rambo got him.
That's right. We told you at the top of this show, escaped Pennsylvania fugitive Michael Burham has been caught after 9 days on the run. Police confirmed this during a Saturday evening press conference. He was apprehended after a tip came in around 4 p.m. reporting a suspicious person in what's known as Conwango Township, Pennsylvania. The tipster said that his dog was barking in the backyard, and when the homeowner went to see what was going on, he found Burham. The owner recognized Burham after the two had a brief conversation during which Burham claimed he was camping. Well, he was. He didn't lie. Right? The man who approached Burham on his golf cart said he recognized Burham, immediately zipped off, got his wife, and called police.
Right.
Police created a perimeter around the area and took Burham into custody around 5:50 p.m. after a short pursuit. And in the presser, police said they apprehended him with the use of canines and approached him from behind as he lay in a prone position in the woods. Burham did not have anything on him, but police have been searching the area where he was found to see if he stashed any guns or anything like that. They did find ammunition in some of the bags that they found from when they were tracking him. So they had a deep concern that he was armed. Burham is currently in the Pennsylvania State Police custody and being processed. He will not return to the Warren County Jail where he escaped, thankfully, and will instead be arraigned on charges related to his escape. Now, as we reported last week, police have been on Burham's trail. They found several bags of clothing, food, and supplies all scattered throughout those woods. That's kind of how they knew he was still in the area. Police also said that a drone may have been flying over the prison on the night Burham escaped. And this is kind of some new news. So this is what made them think someone was helping them. They actually see, they have evidence of a drone flying over the prison. And they're looking for the operator of that drone and wondering, obviously, if that could be an accomplice. I'm not a big believer in coincidences. This from Lieutenant Colonel George Bivens of the Pennsylvania State Police. So he has a strong suspicion that drone played some sort of part. It could be that there was a perfectly innocent and reasonable explanation, it could be someone was somehow connected to his escape.
Or it could be somebody was flying in dope and dropping it in the prison.
Could have been that too.
What's that show on The Mayor of Kingstown? You ever watch that?
Yes.
Yeah, I've seen it.
It's a great show.
Legit show.
Yeah,
anything that dude does is great. He's same producer for Yellowstone and all that. Mm-hmm. You know that?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Taylor Sheridan?
It's Taylor Sheridan. Yeah. But they use drones in one big scene. Is it the final episode? Where
they were flying in dope on drones.
They were flying in the dope on the drones.
Flying over, dropping it in the yard.
Well, Burham's being held on a $1 million bail now for charges of kidnapping, burglary, etc. He's also the prime suspect in the May 11th murder of Kayla Hodgin, 34, as well as related arson, and is accused of abducting an elderly couple in Pennsylvania. And that's what he was in jail for when he escaped.
A plethora of other things, too, that you covered in the past. So,
he's not a good guy, and he's better off behind bars.
Oh, for sure.
He is a good guy. He's a good bad guy.
He's a good Rambo.
Right. Well, I had an over under of at least 2 weeks on this guy, so I would have lost a lot of money there.
I'm glad they called him. It's probably the last thing you're going to hear about it, unless something else stupid and shocking comes out.
That's right.
And so, y'all, there's the story of the modern day Rambo, and he can go fuck himself. Hopefully he gets the death penalty. So, you ever been to Fargo?
I have not been to Fargo.
I've seen the movie.
No, it's beautiful up there. Like right now, it's in the 70s. Yeah. Right? Here it's like 117 on my truck thermometer. But unfortunately, y'all, a Fargo police officer was killed in a Friday afternoon shooting that left 2 other officers in critical condition and 1 civilian injured. Police identified the deceased officer as Jake Wallen, who was 23 years old. Yeah. Sad, and hearts go out to everybody knew and loved him, and that family of blue. I'm praying for all y'all. But officers Andrew Dodas and Tyler Halls both sustained gunshot wounds, are in critical but stable condition at a local hospital, and our prayers go out to them. The suspect, identified in the release as Muhammad Barakat, 37, was shot by Officer Zachary Robinson during the incident. He was transported to a hospital and later died of his injuries, the release said. Let me tell y'all, I'm going to interrupt my own story real quick. Usually, and you heard it from me first, I probably shouldn't share this, but I'm going to share it. Usually when they say that they're shot, the bad guy is shot, and they took him to the hospital and was pronounced dead later on, he was dead on the scene. But boom, I'll digress. Anyway, a 25-year-old woman was also shot during the incident and was transported to a local hospital with serious injuries. Prayers for her. The shooting took place Friday near 9th Avenue South and 25th Street South in Fargo. There is no reason for the shooting, Police Chief Zabolski said at a news conference Saturday. I think down the road we will know the whys. Zabolski said the shooting took place as officers were investigating a routine traffic accident. No such thing as routine, y'all. He added, it does not appear the suspect was involved in the collision, but the investigation is ongoing. Our officers were out there performing their duties, investigating what we would say was a routine traffic accident. As they did that, for whatever reason, this individual began firing at them, striking 3 of them, and also fired shots at the firefighters who were also on the scene attending to the crash victims. The events of the last 24 hours have been among the most difficult in our department's nearly 150-year history. This was a heinous and unthinkable act of aggression against our officers and the entire metro community. Officer Robinson is on paid administrative leave pending an investigation into his use of force as a standard. Law enforcement officers performed a procession with their squad car lights on down Interstate 94 through Fargo on Friday evening. And y'all, Fargo is the biggest city in North Dakota with a population around 125,900.
You ever come across anything like this one where they're investigating one thing, there's a car accident, and so your focus is the victims, the accident, what happened, and all of a sudden, out of the blue,
I was working a homicide out on a homicide scene, but it was kind of the street was kind of blocked up off or whatever. Dude comes through, barreling through. The units get in pursuit of it with him, and they get in a shootout with him, and he had nothing to do with this scene.
It's so crazy.
The world is crazy. Hey, again, these people put on that badge every day, and they go out there, and they never know if they're coming home. It's
Right. And
just-
it's a
it's
23-year-old kid. That's
23-year-old
probably,
kid. And the other ones are going to be affected for life. Yeah.
and that's a place where this kind of stuff does not happen.
No, man. I mean,
doesn't happen.
not in North Dakota. North Dakota is beautiful. And like I said, it's probably 70 degrees up there today. And, I'm not going to be up there in December, but it's so rural. I mean, just spread out, some of the most beautiful country in the United States of America. Hearts go out to them. Horrible story.
Hope they are able to figure out what happened.
And I know
this
that
guy was
there's
coming from.
good and bad in every profession, and I know the tendencies are nowadays to hate on the police, but who you going to call when you get scared, right? And then these guys get shot and die, unfortunately.
Right.
Sad.
Thoughts and prayers to his family.
It is. Well, this is a story. We're going to talk about the Long Island serial killer. And it's a story that for 13 plus years has really enamored the country, especially people in that region and on Long Island. And really, this took place, guys, has taken place over the years in the backyard of where I grew up. I was at Gilgo Beach often. My aunt and uncle lived at Oak Beach, which are two central locations within the story. And so it's all very, very real for me. The conventional wisdom of this story is that it all began with the disappearance of a prostitute by the name of Shannon Gilbert. And for years, and this is for years where tons of stuff has been written, movies, docuseries, specials, everything came at the Long Island serial killer story from the perspective of the Shannon Gilbert incident. And what we're finding out in the news here with this arrest over the past few days is that the connectivity between the suspected killer and Shannon Gilbert is tentative at best. And so what I want to try and do is in two parts give you sort of the Shannon Gilbert and the conventional wisdom story right up to the point where a suspect is captured, and then come back in a second part and give you
how many victims do you think there are, or how many victims have been identified minus Miss Gilbert?
10.
That's
Linked to him, though.
No, not linked to him. That's
right.
And that's the
in the
part
area
of this.
with the same MO.
Well, not necessarily the same MO. Okay, the four, what are known as the Gilgo Four, were identical MO, were in a very confined area, equidistant from each other, all wrapped in burlap. The MO is identical. All were prostitutes. All were doing business through Craigslist or something similar. And so the connectivity between those four is undeniable.
Right.
The evidence right now put police in a position where they've charged him with 3 of those murders.
All right. So you're about to lay it out for us now.
That's the second part. We'll get to the second part. The Shannon Gilbert story is the story that, if people have been following this case, it's the story y'all heard up until this week when this guy Huerman was arrested. So let's go back to May 1st of 2010. And an escort by the name of Shannon Gilbert ran from a home on Oak Beach, Long Island. Oak Beach is a tiny little beach. This is not a big town. This is, at that time, probably 50 homes or less. They are they're beach houses, summer houses, they're retirement homes, some people's permanent home, but this is not a big area. This is not a heavily populated area. Ironically, it is a guy that was 1 year behind me in high school by the name of Joe Brewer, who arranged for this meetup with Shannon Gilbert.
So you knew this guy
at his house.
So he had a prostitute at his house?
Yes, he was newly divorced. He was getting into a lot of trouble, apparently. And
has he ever hooked you up when you were newly divorced?
No. I don't have him to thank for anything like that or blame. And I guess as some of those things go, this hookup wasn't set up until 2:00 in the morning. So she arrived. Yeah. She's from New Jersey. She came a long way. She came several hours out with a driver who acted as her bodyguard / driver, and they go all the way out to Oak Beach, Long Island, very foreign territory for them to see this guy, Joe Brewer. Exactly. And Brewer has her in his house with him for several hours. And, the stories over time are all different, but she starts freaking out and screaming that someone is trying to kill her.
This is on a 911 call.
Yes.
Right.
This is she does it out loud as well as doing it on this 911 call. Right. The problem with her 911 call is she has no idea where she is. And so she's telling them she's at Jones Beach, but she's actually a long way from
Do you know what happened to the pimp or the driver?
I know what he says happened.
Right.
Okay. So the way that this goes is she starts acting all crazy, talking about that somebody's trying to kill her. Brewer says, I got to get this chick out of here. She's nuts.
Again, when you say she says that, this is on a 911 call.
Yes.
So she calls 911 and then says all this.
She not only calls 911, she is yelling it as she ends up running through Oak Beach and hits several people by banging on their front door and having them come to the door.
And it's on the 911 call.
Yes. A 31-minute 911 call that she makes as she's running around. But so Brewer, his story is she goes nuts. I don't know what drugs she's on. She starts talking about people killing her. I didn't even have sex with her. I never even paid her. I just went and yelled to this guy, Michael Pack, who was her driver, to get her the heck out of here. And by the time we tried to do that, she ran off. She ran off. She hits on this guy Coletti's door, a retiree, and he calls 911 himself, which was key because that's the only way that they finally figure out where this is happening, because her 911 call is not helpful in terms of location. So, but she continues running because Pack is driving the SUV through Oak Beach looking for her, trying to find her and get her back in the car with him. His story is that he continues to do that for, he says, until the sun comes up, which is about an hour or less. And then he just finally says, I don't know where the hell she went. Maybe somebody else picked her up, and he drives all the way back home. He never even sees police that day or talks to anybody.
Probably had a warrant.
And police don't really question him, Brewer, the guy Coletti, or anybody else for quite a while after this. And one of the big problems with the case is that people believe that the Suffolk County police are not taking it very seriously because it's a missing person and it's a missing prostitute, and she's not even from the area. They don't really care all that much, right? And so the Shannon Gilbert story is really the taking off point for all of these others. And when they begin finally in earnest searching for Gilbert, which is largely because of the aggressiveness of her mother and her family in wanting answers as to where their daughter is, they begin searching first in a very confined area immediately around Oak Beach, but the next beach west toward New York City from Oak Beach is Gilgo Beach, which is a big surfer spot there. There's not that many spots where you get a good break. And so Gilgo is tons of surfers lined up there every morning. I posted a picture of my brother-in-law. He surfs there 4 or 5 days a week. It is the surf spot. They are searching Gilgo area months later, and a cadaver dog signals that he's onto something. And in 2 days, they discover 4 bodies, none of which are Gilbert's, in that area. Those bodies belonged to, they were all prostitutes, and they became known as the Gilgo Four. It's Maureen Brainerd Barnes, Melissa Barthélemy, and there's a really interesting story with Melissa Barthélemy and this guy they've arrested, Megan Waterman and Amber Lynn Costello. Three of those four are the women that Huerman's been charged with murdering. But
so he must have been part of the DNA they tied him with, right?
Yes. So but the assumption after finding those four, and then over a series of months, another six, which included half the remains of two people, when the other half have been found in other locations, not necessarily near there, one on the mainland in Manorville, another one on Fire Island years earlier, like 96. So all of this stuff predates Shannon Gilbert, but they're assuming, and in fact they announce, that this is all connected, that they believe all 11 of these murders, because they eventually find Shannon Gilbert's body months after that they're all connected, and they believe there's one serial killer, which is what set up everything around this story that people have been glued to for years now. And it's why every one of these productions done on it starts with the Shannon Gilbert story, because for most of that time period, people thought the Gilbert incident was connected to those. And when we come back and talk about this, sort of as the investigation really heats up in the last 2 years, and they identify this guy and then they arrest him, what the actual connectivity is.
Right. And I know we're going to come back and talk about that, but tell the listeners, if you would, because there's going to be some from Louisiana or Texas that don't know the story. Do you have the information on his arrest and what he's been charged with?
Oh yeah, but we'll do that it's a lot. There's a lot there.
Yeah, but I mean, just
murder.
Yeah, right.
Murder. Yes. Three of the four, three of the
these
Gilgo.
Were cold cases, and they tied him through his DNA. I think
they tied him
to
phone records. I mean, it's extensively phone, and then secondarily DNA.
I get it, but the DNA, of course, is going to be a huge part.
DNA is a huge
doesn't lie. Right.
We look forward to the second part of that,
right,
Mike, for sure.
Big
story.
It's a big national story, and I've been getting a lot of information on it sent to me by lifers and stuff. So I want y'all to know we're going to bring it to you in parts, because it's long, but it's distinguished in the world of serial killers.
Yeah.
Spark something uncommon this holiday with just the right gift from Uncommon Goods. The busy holiday season is here, and Uncommon Goods makes it less stressful with incredible hand-picked gifts for everyone on your list, all in one spot. Gifts to spark joy, wonder, delight, and that's exactly what I wanted feeling. Hey, y'all, I ordered a super cool piece. It's a candle with a sculpture of LSU's Tiger Stadium on top of it. And each officially licensed laser cut wooden replica features up to 4 layers of detail, creating a bird's eye view of a specific football field, seating section, and more. And every label includes your stadium's name, the team's logo, and school location. And it has a coconut, soy, vegan wax infused with sandalwood smell that creates tailgates and touchdown scent profile, reminiscent of game day. It's invigorating like fresh cut grass, and nostalgic like smoke from a pre-game grill, and calming like the crisp autumn air of a new semester on campus. Y'all, I love it. I have it at the base of my TV, and I'm ready to watch the Tigers play on Saturday night, right? Uncommon Goods. Look, when you shop at Uncommon Goods, you're supporting artists and small independent businesses. And many of their handcrafted products are made in small batches. So shop now before they sell out this holiday season. Uncommon Goods looks for products that are high quality, unique, and often handmade or made in the U.S. They have the most meaningful, out of the ordinary gifts anywhere. They even have gifts you can personalize. From holiday host and hostess gift to the coolest finds for kids to hits for everyone from the book lovers to diehard sports fans, Uncommon Goods has something for everyone, not the same old selections you can just find anywhere. And with every purchase you make at Uncommon Goods, they give $1 to a nonprofit partner of your choice. They've donated more than $3 million to date. So to get 15% off your next gift, go to uncommongoods.com/RLRC. That's uncommongoods.com/RLRC for 15% off. Don't miss out on this limited time offer. Uncommon Goods, we're all out of the ordinary.
Hey, y'all. Changing my wardrobe from summer to fall, it's never easy. Luckily, Quince offers timeless and high-quality items I adore, ensuring my wardrobe stays fresh and I don't blow my budget. And there's nothing easier than going to Quince and choosing these high-quality items, like cashmere sweaters from $50, pants for every occasion, washable silk tops, and so much more. The best part? All Quince items are priced 50 to 80% less than similar brands. By partnering directly with top factories, Quince cuts out the cost of the middleman and passes the savings on to us. And Quince only works with factories that use safe, ethical, and responsible manufacturing practices and premium fabrics and finishes, and I love that. I got the stainless steel Link Apple Watch band for $59.90. It's heavy duty, it's awesome, and it's like $100 less than I could find anywhere else. And I also got a 100% organic cotton fisherman quarter zip up sweater. The color is alabaster. Man, I can't wait to wear that this fall. And Cindy got the Mongolian cashmere boat neck sweater in heather gray. And I'm telling you, these are classic pieces at a fraction of the price. Make switching seasons a breeze with Quince's high-quality closet essentials. Go to quince.com/RLRC for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. That's QUINCE.com/RLRC to get free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/RLRC. You'll thank me later in cold cases.
That's right. And we're going to bring you another large national story right now that is a little bit, well, I don't know if it can get any stranger than that
right
story,
up there.
but it's pretty strange. A missing Alabama woman.
Oh, this is big.
Who is found alive 2 days after she vanished while screaming down phone to family about approaching toddlers she found walking on the road.
Interstate.
So we're going to get
walking along the interstate.
Yeah. We're going to get into this and tell you kind of the start of this story and how it's ended up at least at this point. A missing 25-year-old woman who vanished after she pulled over to check on a toddler who was wandering alone on an Alabama interstate highway has been found alive in her home. Carlee Russell was on the phone with her sister-in-law when she got out of her car to check on a child. The family member said she then heard a sudden scream and shortly after lost all contact with Russell. When officers arrived at the location, they found Russell's car along with her cell phone, purse, Apple Watch, I think that's key, in the nearby area. As a matter of fact, it was in her vehicle. But Russell and the child she claimed to have spotted were nowhere to be seen. On Saturday night, Hoover, Alabama officials received a phone call that Russell had returned to her home after knocking on the door. She was dropped off at the location by an individual. After police and fire officials confirmed it was Russell and evaluated her at the scene, she was taken to a local hospital. When Russell went missing, Hoover police said they had not received any calls of a missing child. One witness reported possibly seeing a gray vehicle and a man standing outside of the vehicle, but police said they had no additional information. And I'll tell you this, they released the traffic cam footage from the interstate. And if you go watch that traffic cam footage, you never see a child. Mm-hmm. You never see another vehicle pull up. Mm-hmm. And it's very limited. It's dark. It's nighttime outside. But what you can see is her pull over to the side of the road, and then you see her go to the passenger side of the vehicle at one point, and then she disappears off into the woods. At no point do you see anybody, which is very strange. Now, in the process of in the process, at some point, she got out of the car, and my daughter-in-law could hear her asking a child if they were okay. This from her mother. The child did not respond, or at least she did not hear her respond on that telephone call. And then she heard her daughter, Carlee, scream, and from there, all we heard was noise, background noise from her cell phone that's also coming from her mother. Russell left work around 8:20 p.m. on Thursday before stopping to pick up food for her and her mom. She then traveled towards Hoover and called 911 around 9:30 to report the missing child on the side of the interstate. After calling 911, Russell reportedly called her sister to tell her that she was going to check on the child. The family member lost contact with her around 9:36, but the line remained open. Responding officers located Russell's abandoned car along with her cell phone, purse, wig, and Apple Watch in the vehicle, but no sign of a child. Now, here's where it gets strange. She gets found alive Saturday night. She returned to that home, as I told you, in Hoover, Alabama, before 10:45 p.m. and appeared to be in shock. Police said she walked up, banged on the door, and the family opened the door, and there she was. She was transported to the hospital at that point, and Russell's boyfriend, Tomar Simmons, then posts an Instagram post saying, "All I ask from everyone right now is to be respectful of Carlee's situation. She was literally fighting for her life for 48 hours. So until she's physically and mentally stable again, she's not able to give any updates or whereabouts on her kidnapper at this moment." I think there's a lot more to this case. It's very strange.
Bullshit.
Knew that was coming.
Yeah. It is so much bullshit, and I'm not going to take the rest of your story. Go ahead. Yeah, there's a lot of things that make you want to scream bullshit on this. Too many cases I've worked and in where it is they're all fucking somebody else, and they get caught or they get delayed or whatever happens, and I've had almost not saying a child was involved, but you don't do that. And there's no evidence of a child. No child's been reported missing. It's on the interstate. Other people have seen the kid. And she leaves all her shit in the car, like you said, the Apple Watch and everything else. Why? Because they can't be traced.
Yeah, that's what, for me, really made me question it, was leaving your Apple Watch. If you're getting kidnapped, number one, you're keeping anything that can track you on you. And then secondly, even if someone notices that Apple Watch, they're not going to take it off and put it in your car. Right. They're going to rip it off and leave it on the side of the road. I
would be curious to go out on a limb and say, when she disappeared in the woods, on the other side of those woods, what's the nearest parking area? What's the nearest road where she could be picked up? There's a prearranged thing. She was picked up. She went and did her whatever.
And where she pulled over, this was just me noticing, watching the scene. It was right next to a giant sign. So it'd be a good landmark to say I'm going to be pulling over at the exit sign for XYZ exit. Right. And there is a road, a little median road, right through just a small patch of woods. Right. And you do see lights
and I
light up
at that.
And a car drive off.
There you go. I hadn't even looked at that. There you go.
Shortly after. So we're going to keep you posted. Just very strange.
It's an
to
elaborate
me, this whole situation.
To just get laid. I mean,
people do what they do, and it is what it is. I guess I got so many stories like that.
That's going to be really, because I really, really like her parents. Her parents came out and they posted some video, and they were very convincing, very sincere people, and showed a lot of love for their daughter.
That mean they're shitbirds.
And it became a national story that I don't think, if someone were to do this, I don't think they, in a scam type way, I don't think they would realize the magnitude of the effect that would have, which would freak them out.
Right.
Which is why maybe she ended up showing up 2 days later. And look, we're not throwing shade that until she comes out and we get more information, nobody knows for sure. All we know is it's a very weird situation, strange right now, and it has a lot of things that Lucy's husband would say there's some splaining to do.
What's her name? Melissa?
No, Carlee.
Carlee Russell.
Not throwing shade, but Carlee better be damn glad I'm not working that case.
Well, and it seems like you don't know how integrated the police are into everything, but they're buying the time right now to try and put together some kind of rational explanation.
They're not buying it. They're working it because that's how she reported it, right? And once they can't prove it or disprove it, they're also, if she's doing something nefarious, they're giving her a rope to hang herself.
Yeah, I don't mean the police are doing that.
Right.
I mean she's doing that with
she didn't
her boyfriend and her family, and
she didn't think about if she had just said, you know what, I got abducted off the side of the interstate, but you involve a little baby that's supposedly walking down the interstate and shit like that. Yeah, it's crazy. This story is not over with. So, but Mike, you ever did dress up in drag, Jim?
Yeah,
Never.
I have actually. Yeah,
I figured that.
Costume. That was a costume.
Well,
for a costume.
How
event.
about robbing banks?
No, I haven't done any of that.
Never done that.
Nothing I'm going to admit. I told you my FBI agent, buddy Jeff Methan, said if there was one crime I was going to do to get away with, it'd be I'd commit one bank robbery. So let me tell you all a story. A man dressed as a woman walked into 3 Texas banks this month and handed tellers sticky notes with threatening messages demanding cash, earning him the nickname the Sticky Note Bandit.
Now, if you're a bank robber, that'd piss you off.
Yeah,
getting
it's
that
not a
kind
great
of
label.
That's not exactly a
Doesn't
intimidating.
instill fear.
I'm a sticky note bandit, girl.
The man who hasn't been arrested or publicly identified left 2 of the Houston area banks with undisclosed sums of money, right? The man allegedly entered Hancock Whitney Bank and shout out to our best banker in the world, Lori Johnson. So he entered the Hancock Whitney Bank in Houston on July 5th dressed as a female, approached a teller and handed them a threatening note written on a sticky note which demanded cash. He left that branch with an undisclosed amount of cash. No one was physically hurt during the robbery. The suspect, who's described as 5'8" black man with a thin to medium build, allegedly used a similar method at 2 Wells Fargo branches in Houston on July the 11th and 13th. During the last 2 robberies, he wore a black wig, black sunglasses, a blue medical mask, a green woman-style sweater, black women's ballet flats, and carried a black purse. This is according to an FBI statement. He then handed the tellers threatening notes demanding cash. During the July 11th robbery, the teller walked away from the counter and locked themselves in the back room for safety. The suspect remained in the bank lobby for a short time, then fled the scene on foot without any money. Now, you had one job, right?
One job.
Get some money. If you're going to rob a bank, they handed you a little sticky note, and she's like, I'm going to get your money for you. And she locks his shit and locks him. I mean, that's pretty funny. That's not as funny as that dude that tried to rob the Asian place the other day. You know, remember that video that Mike did the story on? And everybody just fucking ignored him. But this is pretty funny too.
Yeah. And, you know,
and here's a picture.
The problem here is he's got now an addiction to bank robbery because he's done 3 of these. And the more you do, the more likely you're going to get caught. And he probably could have done one and never robbed another bank and never would have been caught.
The only thing I don't agree with my FBI buddy on is robbing a bank because it's not worth it. You know why? Do you know what the average bank robbery nets?
What?
I know you're going to give a number much lower than I would have thought. So.
$3,500 on the national.
Are you kidding me?
$3,500. Now in Livingston Parish, way back in the day, and I did a podcast on it when the bank in Albany, Louisiana, got hit. And this is it was a really small town back then. They got several $100,000s of dollars. The 3 of them that robbed the bank, but that happened to be on a day that it was a payday for the largest corporation out there at that time.
They didn't use sticky notes for that one.
They didn't use sticky notes. No. They wanted. Actually, a lifer was one of the ones that worked there, and she still has trauma to this day from it.
Wow.
So,
All right, well, let's pick up the Long Island serial killer story, and let's pick it up at the point that this Officer John Malia is responding to his canine Blue, who has identified something on the just off the side of the road. I mean, 30 feet off of the side.
They call it
indicated.
Or set it in.
Blue indicated.
That's right.
Thank you, Blue. So, and he's assuming, by the way, that this is the body of Shannon Gilbert,
right?
Which is what the body he's been looking for months. So the body was later identified as 24-year-old Melissa Barthélemy, a sex worker who was last seen more than 18 months earlier in New York City. Over the next 2 days, the remains of 3 other women, Megan Waterman, Amber Costello, they're all in their 20s, by the way. Waterman's 22, Costello's 27, and Maureen Brainerd Barnes, 25, were quickly discovered buried about 1/10 of a mile apart from each other on the beach. Like I said, these were all symmetrical. They became known as the Gilgo Four. One really important thing that I want to mention is Melissa Barthélemy, she went missing on July 12th, 2009. Right. So she'd been living in the Bronx, working as an escort, using Craigslist, but starting 1 week after this and lasting for 5 weeks after she went missing, her teenage sister Amanda received a series of vulgar, mocking, and insulting calls from a man who may have been the killer using Melissa's cell phone. And that becomes key evidence as an arrest is made. So we're going to go back to that. Okay. Additional victims are recovered through March and April. We're now into 2011. So 4 more sets of remains are discovered between March 29th and April 4th. All the remains were found in another area off the Parkway near Oak Beach and Gilgo, within 2 miles of the first batch of bodies found in December of 2010. So we've got a 15-month period here where these bodies are being discovered. The newly discovered victims were Jessica Taylor, Valerie Mack, an unidentified woman that they referred to as Jane Doe number 3 or Peaches, and an unidentified toddler who they were able through DNA to identify as the daughter of Peaches.
Really?
Yes. 2 further sets of remains were discovered on April 11th. They were found about a mile apart, approximately 5 miles from those that were found in December. 1 set of remains belonged to a victim now thought to be a transgender woman designated Asian male by police at the time. The other remains were those of Jane Doe number 7, whose partial remains had been discovered on Fire Island in 1996. So you're going way back. On November 29th, 2011 is a key date. Police announced that they believed one person was responsible for all 10 of those murders. And people also took that to mean Shannon Gilbert, who was not found at that point, was likely an 11th and part of that, right? So the single killer theory sort of came from, common characteristics. They said common MO, but it really wasn't so much a common MO as common characteristics, the prostitution being the big one. Gilbert's body wasn't discovered until December of 2011. So remember, she goes missing May 1st of 2010. So you've got a year and a half before she gets discovered, and she gets discovered really right near where she was. I mean, knowing the area and her running around Oak Beach and yelling, "Someone's trying to kill me." If she wanders into the wrong spot off that beach, she can very quickly run into cattails and other floor that looks like it's land, and all of a sudden you're in brush and you're in water, and if you're already that messed up, who knows what the heck happens, right? So the probe starts to grow. So they have all these bodies now, and investigators spend really the next couple of years finger pointing, flip flopping. I mean, the investigation is a mess, and
it's called an investigation for a reason. It's like when I go fishing, they don't call it catching; they call it fishing. Got to be worked.
Well, frustrated FBI sources claim that the Suffolk, that's the county where Oak Beach is, brass were unwilling to let the feds help in an investigation they were stalled in. In 2015, so, I mean, this thing is lingering for years, right? The local agency did an about turn and asked the feds to take on a prime role in the probe. Still, it wasn't until 2020 when Suffolk Commissioner Geraldine Hart announced efforts to advance the case, including the launch of a website called Gilgo News, where people could leave anonymous tips. Investigators also released a string of photos of evidence that they had recovered, including a leather belt with the initials either HM or WH, because you could invert it. We do believe that the belt was handled by the suspect and did not belong to any of the victims, Hart said at the time. The last year, so now we're all the way to 2022, newly appointed Commissioner Rodney Harrison, and this is a guy you've probably seen if you've been following the story on the news. He's done a bunch of interviews, formed an interagency task force with investigators from the FBI as well as state and local departments aimed at solving the case. 6 weeks after the formation of this task force, March of 2022, the name Rex Heuermann was first mentioned as a suspect. A New York State investigator was able to identify him in a database. Investigators had gone backward through phone records collected from both Midtown Manhattan and Massapequa Park. It's a town in Long Island across the bay from where Gilgo Beach is. So they've gone back and they've through these calls that were made to the sister and the original hookup calls, they're able to identify that this is a person who is in the Midtown Manhattan area and also in the Massapequa area, and their the burner phone that the alleged killer had was detected in both of those areas, right? So the authorities narrowed the records collected by cell phones first to thousands of people, then down to hundreds, and finally they get it down to just a handful of people. And from there, they work to focus on people who lived in the area of that cell tower. So who lives in the area of Massapequa and who might work or also often be in the Midtown area of Manhattan that fits the physical description. So one of the four, the Gilgo Four, when they were picked up, as the gal lived in West Babylon, somebody saw the guy who picked her up, and they were able to offer a description of him. They described him as an ogre, 6'4", 6'5", 230, 250 pounds, right. And also was driving a pretty unique vehicle, a first-generation Chevy Avalanche, which was that weird sort of pickup truckish thing that they had.
Oh, those are nice trucks. Avalanche, shit.
Well, I'm not talking down your Avalanche.
Now, I'll say this, though, that you're right. A unique vehicle and a unique individual. There's not a whole lot of 6'5", 230 to 250 people walking around.
Especially when you go back in the database and run all the avalanches that are registered in the whole
to 6'5" people.
York, right? That's what I would have done. And then 6'5", then we're coming for you.
Which is huge. And, you know, when you look at that guy, I can't think of a better description than ogre. Yeah. I mean, that's how he was.
Hey, don't get Shrek about
lookism.
I can do lookism on a serial killer.
You don't think Shrek's cute? No, I'm sorry.
They made Shrek cute. Investigators found that, you know, Heuermann matched the physical description, lived close to the Long Island cell site, Massapequa Park, and that he worked in Midtown Manhattan around Fifth Avenue. And so they begin watching him. So they spent 18 months building this case against him. So, you know what, to a public that has anticipated something in this case for 13 years, an arrest happens and everybody assumes something, you know, dramatic has happened. 18 months of watching this guy built to that moment.
I don't fault them for that because it's, you know, obviously a potential serial killer, and you're not just watching him. what you're watching for public safety, but you're building a case. And once you get beyond a reasonable doubt to submit to the grand jury, that's what happened.
Yep. So they come to learn that that this guy does have a first generation Chevy Avalanche.
There you go. I bet you it wasn't another dude in the state of New York that's 6'5", looked like an ogre, and has the first generation Chevy Avalanche.
That was certainly a big one. Obviously, the description, not just the ogre and the size, but also age. He was identified as mid-40s with dark bushy hair and big oval style 1970s type glasses, all of which also fit him.
I bet those detectives are fucking high-fiving each other on that task force.
So, I mean,
then we got to get his DNA.
He's actually 6'6", 275, and would have been 46 years old at the time.
6'6", 275.
He's a big dude. Cell phone bills linked to Huerman revealed that he had used a burner phone to meet up with 3 of the 4 victims.
There you go.
So
now you got to get what DNA you can collect from those deceased bodies and everything else. Then you got to get his DNA. You got to work the case. That's why it took 18 months.
Let me say this though, with the and I look at this from a defense attorney standpoint, and the burner phone's easily explainable. He's meeting with an escort. He's married. He's got 2 kids, and he don't want his wife to catch him.
Right.
That's exactly what they would say. You don't have to be killing somebody to get a burner phone.
Right.
Cheating on your wife.
That's true.
Yeah, but you happen to use a burner phone to call 3 escorts, all of whom get murdered.
It's not beyond a reasonable doubt. Now, it's not beyond a reasonable doubt that in and of itself, but that's why DNA is going to come into play.
Okay, so yes, we're piling circumstantial evidence on, but it's pretty weighty circumstantial evidence. Okay, so he was found to have been in the same general location as the burner phones used to contact Barthélemy, Waterman, and Costello, the 3 murders that he gets charged with. Huerman's phone records showed him in the same location around the same time he was allegedly using Barthélemy's phone to call her family. This is when he calls her sister, allegedly. And he also allegedly used one of his burner phones to make what I just said, make the disturbing phone call to her 16-year-old sister, in which he said, "Do you know what your sister is doing? She's a whore."
Whoa.
One of the burner phones was found on Huerman at the time of his arrest. Hello. Records obtained from Tinder revealed
the same burner phone that was used to make the
Now the evidence is real.
No, it still doesn't prove beyond a reasonable doubt.
Records obtained from Tinder revealed a burner phone was linked to a fictitious Tinder account under the name of Andrew Roberts, using an email that Huerman had also accessed from his personal cell phone. Huerman allegedly used Google Pay to fund the dating app via an American Express credit card.
Okay.
The probe also uncovered selfies Huerman took and sent from a fake AOL account under the name Springfield Man 9, as well as another fictitious email, Hunter 1903A3. Both were linked to his alleged burner phones. He also researched his own slangs, conducting more than 200 searches between March of 22 and June of 23, including why could law enforcement not trace the calls made by the Long Island serial killer? Inside the Long Island,
how many people did that? Though?
Inside the Long Island serial killer and Gilgo Beach. There's tons of searches on that topic, but the specific of not trace the calls.
If he'd been banging him, he might have been in love with him, and he can't find him on the street anymore.
I think
I'm
he's
saying
guilty.
the defense attorney now. The defense attorney is going to say, "Hey, he was concerned about his frequent flyers."
And all the evidence so far would also fit someone that was trying to hide the fact that they were with escorts from their wife. Yeah. So everything, having fake emails, all that.
Yeah.
I mean, that if I'm a defense attorney, I'm saying he's cheating on his wife. He didn't want her to catch him. He had a fake email.
Yeah,
he used the pseudonym email name Thomas Hawk, and he used that on an account to search. To search for podcasts and documentaries related to the probe.
They call me Hawk.
And looked at hundreds of pictures of his alleged victims and their families. Looked at hundreds of pictures of the alleged victims and his family. An IP
That's
address.
called a spank bank.
An IP address used to book flights for Huerman and his wife on JetBlue also accessed GilgoNews.com, the website maintained by authorities to share updates on the murder case.
Again.
I'm waiting on you to tell me he had an email address called "I am the serial killer you were looking
allegedly
for."
killed the three victims, Melissa Barthelemy, Megan Waterman, and Costello, when his wife, Asa Ellerup, was traveling and not at home or not in the country, right?
Makes sense.
Ellerup's DNA, his wife's DNA, was found on three of the victims' bodies. DNA testing on a water bottle from outside a Huerman's home was determined to be a match to a sample of the woman's hair found on tape used to tie up Costello and Waterman, as well as the belt used to bind Maureen Brainerd Barnes' feet.
This dude's, he's fucked.
Ellerup has not been
not
criminally
looking good.
charged at this point.
Yeah, they're going to flip her ass.
Investigators
They were probably doing some nasty sexual things together.
You think she was involved?
But fuck, why is there DNA on the victims?
Well, he could have been DNA transferred from her
I mean,
to
it could
whatever
have,
he's
but
using.
a frog's ass could be glass and break every time he jumps. It could have, but the coincidence in a homicide doesn't happen.
Okay.
But you're right. It could be transferred DNA, but that's a really hard thing.
Okay, so investigators were able to link Huerman to the death of Waterman after recovering DNA from leftover pizza crust he tossed into a trash can on Fifth Avenue on January 26th.
6'6", dude, got to eat.
They matched at 275 pounds. Yes, he did. And matched it to
you call
hair.
it a pie anyway, Mike.
That's right.
Get it straight.
Pizza pie.
What did I call it?
You said pizza crust.
He didn't leave a pie. He left
you
the
said
crust.
pizza pie crust.
Apparently, he wasn't hungry enough for the crust. So he tossed
must
that
not have been
into
stuffed
a
cheese.
trash
Yeah.
bin on Fifth Avenue on January 26th of 2023. And they were able to match it to hairs found in the burlap used to wrap Waterman's body.
Ooh, that's a good one.
So,
Yeah, the defense attorney have a problem explaining that.
Yeah.
so at this point, we've got really strong circumstantial evidence,
Yeah.
and now we have some direct physical evidence linking him to three of the four. So what about Shannon Gilbert? Where does this go with her? Where does this go with the others? And
Hey, even if he didn't kill her, I'm glad. Well, I mean, I can't say I'm glad what happened to her because it kicked off, and they've never found this asshole had it not been for Shannon Gilbert.
that's exactly my final point here is that, so much focus has been on the Shannon Gilbert story over the years, and it does not look like there is a connection with Huerman to Gilbert, except that.
Just like Derek Todd Lee and Sean Vincent Gillis or whatever, even Darlie Routier, they only tried her for the death of one of her two kids. Why? Because you only need one, right? And if you screw that up, then you come back on another one. So I don't think they'll ever go very, very hard after Gilbert, other than establish the fact that's she was the reason why we were there.
Well, and I think
she was at his house. I mean, they're going to make it look circumstantial, but he'll never get prosecuted for her.
Well, I don't think there's any evidence that he had anything to do with anything with her.
I understand it.
But
I just agree with you. I don't think she'll get prosecuted for it. But it had not been for her, we wouldn't be talking about this.
Correct.
That was my big finish, Woody.
Sorry, I stole it for you.
Well, had it not been
45 minutes.
Had it not been for her, the country is very interested in this story. Had it not been for her, and had it not been for John, Malia, and Blue searching, really an area that was pretty far away from where Gilbert was. So, but look, if this is what it is, they're still not related to Gilbert, but to the other bodies. Yeah. They're still maybe dead by now, but there is likely another killer here.
Well, that's always possible. But even if his semen comes back on her, his DNA comes back on Gilbert, he's going to say, "Oh, well, she was at my house. I already told y'all that. You knew that." Da, da, da.
There you go. And that's what I was thinking. The problem in this case is, more than anything, is the lifestyle they lived.
Yeah,
and
high
risk lifestyle. And it just creates an issue because it wouldn't be out of the ordinary for a prostitute to sleep with more than one guy in one day.
Shit. they do as many as they can.
That's
it might
it.
be 15 in a day.
Yeah. So, interesting, and we're going to follow it. Although I do think that the guy is guilty. I mean, looking at it, you didn't mention Mike though when they were interrogating him. He's crying the whole time and swearing up and down. He does not admit to doing any of this.
Right.
Yeah.
He's innocent until proven guilty, and then we certainly haven't heard the last of this story, because I promise you, Ago's going to bring it to you.
Well, and the Gilbert story, you should still go back and watch some of these. That Lost Girls is the series that Netflix did, because it also tells the story of her family and her mother, which is so tragic. I mean, her mother, who was not a good mother, really tries to kind of turn her life around in the search for Shannon, and actually ends up getting murdered by her other daughter.
Very interesting.
Crazy.
Hey, ladies, are you feeling overwhelmed by hormonal changes? Well, you're definitely not alone. There are more than 1,000 hormone disruptors living in our environment right now. It's in your food, your water, the air you breathe, the clothes you wear, your skincare products. They all mess with your hormones. Then there's the natural hormone changes your body goes through: premenopause, menopause. And while it's a natural process, it doesn't mean you have to suffer through it. The good news is you don't have to suffer through it anymore, because now you have Hormone Harmony, a formula made only with herbal ingredients that are shown to reduce hormonal symptoms in women of all ages. Hormone Harmony is not just a hormone supporting supplement. It's become a phenomenon. Women can't stop talking about it on social media. A bottle of Hormone Harmony is sold every 24 seconds. And the biggest benefit? Well, my wife says it makes her feel like her own self again. And that's what women mention over and over in the reviews. And there are over 30,000 reviews for Hormone Harmony. And for a limited time, you can get 15% off your entire first order at happymammoth.com. Just use code RLRC at checkout. That's happymammoth.com and use code RLRC for 15% off today. That's happymammoth.com and use code RLRC.
It can get lonely climbing Mount McKinley, so to entertain myself, I go to ChumbaCasino.com. At Chumba Casino, I can play hundreds of online casino-style games for free, like online slots, bingo, Slingo, and more. Plus, I get a daily login bonus. It's just too bad that up here, I don't have anyone to share my excitement with. Woohoo!
Live the Chumba life. Anytime, anywhere. Play for free now at ChumbaCasino.com. VGW Group. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.
All right. A Baton Rouge police officer has arrested a man for armed robbery that he had conspired to commit along with two others. Javian Carter, 23, was arrested by BRPD Thursday for a robbery that happened on May 26th. He was booked for armed robbery, carrying a firearm on school property, and being a convicted felon in possession. Baton Rouge Police Department responded to the initial armed robbery report on May 26th at Belfair Park off of Fairfields Avenue, not the best part of Baton Rouge. The victim said two men approached the vehicle and demanded their belongings while brandishing guns. One of the victim's wallets had $2,100 in cash, while the other had $60. One of the victims was later identified as Anthony Schaefer III, according to arrest documents. Police said Schaefer was not cooperative in the investigation, not returning detectives' phone calls, nor providing a statement, while the other victim was fully cooperative. Deputies found that Schaefer had been a suspect in a previous armed robbery, and based on this and his behavior during the May case, investigators began to look into previous phone records. It was found that Schaefer had been texting with Carter and a third suspect, Matthew Hunt. Surveillance footage from May showed Carter and Hunt talking with someone on the phone just minutes before the robbery happened. Phone records showed that Schaefer had an hour-long conversation with Hunt that coincided with that time frame. The BRPD believes Schaefer conspired with Carter and Hunt to perform the armed robbery on his co-worker, the other victim. Carter was arrested on Thursday. So you had a guy here who basically conspired with the two guys who committed the robbery and said, look, we want to rob this coworker, but I want you to rob me too. Right. And that way I can give the police a BS story. Well, it all got tied down to him. Why would he? Because of phone records.
And
and video.
Yep. Like you say, you always on video somewhere every day. All right, y'all. Back to Austin, one of my favorite places. Spent so many months lived there, going to polygraph school and everything, as I've told y'all before. We were talking about the potential serial killer, and y'all, Lady Bird Lake, we've talked about this many times in the past. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail other than say that the Austin PD identified the fifth man found dead in Lady Bird Lake last week as Maga Dagali. APD added that his death is not being investigated as a homicide. The official cause of death will be determined by the medical examiner's office. And anyway, so they arrived and around 10:28 a.m. in the waterway, and they found an obviously deceased male. And the city of Austin has, since all this shit started, they've made steps to increase the safety along the lake and hike and bike trail. They say it's unclear if foul play is involved. They're full of shit. They know foul play is involved. And, of course, the rumors continue that a serial killer is loose in Austin after 8 bodies were pulled from Lady Bird Lake in just 10 months, besides the latest body. And y'all just goes on about that APD is under heavy scrutiny, et cetera, et cetera. Guess what? I said it once. I'll say it again. APD is one of the finest police departments in the United States of America. They are certainly the highest paid per capita. And I have friends on that force, and one of them just reached out to me the other day. I'm not going to tell you what he said, but I'm telling y'all, it's a serial killer. Austin is a big tourist town, right? 6th Street and all that is right there.
Lots of convention business now.
Everything is right there downtown, right there where all this all happening. They, until they're going to come out like in Long Island and they're getting their ducks in a row, 18 months, however long it takes. And they don't want to say, oh, well, we're looking for a serial killer looks like this because the guy could split, right? So stay tuned and we'll continue to bring updates on that story.
Yeah, it's if there was 5 bodies found, like you said, in LSU lakes, and since the beginning of the year, there would be total panic and anarchy. These are all men; they're all around the same age,
all come from the same, all picked up at the same location.
Yeah, come on,
all were seen their party and the thing. I get it. Serial killer. I said it in the beginning. I'm going to continue to say it. And if I have to come out of retirement and come down there and help you boys, I will.
That's the spirit, Woody.
Right?
That may need to happen.
Hey, you know what? When they do it, I'm going to go down there anyway. I'm going to do a full-length series on it.
Well,
hey, my brothers in APD, you remember I gave y'all props when other people are hating on you. I already know what you're doing.
Well, we may need you to go to Europe, specifically to Italy, and knock some sense into a judge there when I tell you our next story.
You're going to talk in Italiano from Rosetta Stone?
There might be a little, there might be a drop somewhere.
Rosetta Stone /daily for 40% off on all their languages.
There might be a planned or unplanned drop in here, but
Rosetta Stone.
Let's go to the ancient city of Rome, Italy, where as your international and European lead correspondent, it is my responsibility to bring you stories like this. An Italian judge's ruling that sexual harassment does not occur until 10 seconds have passed has caused outrage and prompted a trend on Italian social media. Last week, this judge made this ruling, and thousands of Italians turned to their social platforms of choice and began posting 10-second videos of them groping themselves. The videos proved a very effective way of demonstrating just how long 10 seconds can be. The judge ruled that 66-year-old janitor Antonio Avila did not sexually harass a 17-year-old student at a Rome high school because The April incident happened, quote, too quickly. The student said she was walking up a staircase when the janitor pulled her trousers down and grabbed her underwear and her ass. The prosecutor was seeking a 3.5-year prison sentence for the crime. The accused janitor admitted to groping the student without her consent, but insisted it was just a joke. The judge acquitted the man and claimed the incident, quote, did not constitute a crime, shocking many of the country's youth and drawing outrage. The victim herself asked if the judge was, quote, joking with his decision, insisting the janitor, quote, took her from behind without saying anything. Quote, this, at least for me, is no joke, she said, stressing that the ruling may in fact discourage women from reporting violence. I'm starting to think I was wrong to trust the institutions. This is not justice. Italians took to social media expressing their anger over the papalga breve, or brief groping, ruling. The posters remain silent and stare at the camera for the whole time and mostly grope their own chest. Activist Francesco Cicconetti posted on his own video writing, women's bodies are not owned by men, they're owned by women and only the women themselves. Thanks to our friends at Rosetta Stone, I can tell you, il giudice ha fatto un casino, which translates to the judge fucked up.
Hey, do they have curse
Is that
words?
casino in there?
Yeah, that's how I thought so too. But
I believe that's the.
Do they have curse words on Rosetta Stone?
They have the.
Don't tell me
they
you
have
hadn't
the
looked it up.
soft version of the things I heard in my house growing up. I don't necessarily
Gotcha.
Get in Rosetta Stone.
You can now take off that belt and move freely around the cabin.
It is Mile High Wednesday, and an Oregon woman has been sentenced for flight groping. How about that? A woman?
What?
Yes. Heidi McKinney, 27, smuggled alcohol on board of the Alaska Airlines flight and gently touched a woman sitting next to her on the breast and genitals and has pled guilty to assault with intent to commit a felony. She was sentenced to 8 months of home detention plus 3 years of probation. She was arrested at Portland International Airport. She was accused of making contact with another passenger's body, including her inner thigh, and made a series of profane and lewd statements to her.
I figured she had to back it up with something.
Yeah, she's probably sitting in that airport bar, right? The assistant U.S. attorney said McKinney had acted with intent to humiliate and harass the victim. The defendant took her seat on the flight and before departure placed her hands on the female's chest, allowing her hand to linger there uncomfortably. She also put her arm around the woman and took photos of her. Selfies, basically. After the takeoff, McKinney badgered the victim to drink alcohol she had smuggled on board the flight. McKinney also licked the victim's ear, attempted to kiss her, and tried to place her hands on the victim's crotch on 3 separate
It's a long
occasions.
flight from wherever they're going in Alaska to Portland.
That's right. So
Ear licking.
we have a picture we'll post of Miss McKinney, and she doesn't look like your typical groper.
Did the groping?
Yes.
Yeah, we haven't had an ear fetish story, have we?
Well, we
we
just
haven't.
have one here with Miss McKinney.
I'm not doing lookism.
Woody appears to be in deep study. Yes, you are.
She's actually very pretty.
I'm thinking this lady has to be married,
a POS,
educated, the whole 9 yards, but she just must have been horny.
Yeah, she doesn't look like your typical groper for sure.
Clinical analysis.
Yeah, that's my.
And that just goes to show
analysis. She was horny.
You never know who might start licking your ear on a flight.
Everybody on the face of this planet that you look at every day got here because 2 people
were licking their ears. Oh no,
might have started with licking ears, but everybody gets horny every now and then.
All right, let's wrap with some banjos because I got a good banjo. It's quick.
Well, I got to finish. Can I do my rap on my Mile High? Thank you.
You can now take off that belt and move freely around the cabin.
Okay, listen to this shit. This is great. Rivera 13 gang member Anthony Garcia, age 25, smirked as the victim's relatives gave emotional testimony about how the shooting of 23-year-old John Juarez affected their family, prompting a strong admonition from Norwalk Superior Court Judge Thomas McNew Jr. Quote, "It would appear from your attitude of non-remorse and your smirks, your sociopathic tendencies, you are a serious, serious danger to society," McNew told Garcia. "I don't know what thought you've given to your future, but you have no real future." This was an unusual case. The victim, John Juarez, was standing near payphones outside Mr. Ed's liquor store, 6616 Rosemead Boulevard, when two men walked up, asked where he was from, and then shot him several times. The case went unsolved for months, with few clues. Anthony Garcia was being booked for a separate offense when Homicide Sergeant Kevin Lloyd noticed a unique tattoo printed on his chest. Garcia's tattoo showed a helicopter shooting a Mr. Peanut in front of a Mr. Ed's liquor store. Investigators said Garcia's gang moniker is Chopper, and Juarez's gang, Pico Nuevo, is insultingly referred to as Peanuts by Rivera 13 members. Garcia had had a tattoo of the murder imprinted on his chest.
Nice.
Yeah, he ended up getting convicted.
That's it. No sentence. No sentence?
Oh, it's, I don't know, forever. Forever.
Death.
It's murder.
Usually they put a teardrop on their eye, something like that. But yeah, he's definitely a dumb criminal. Mike, that was a good one.
All right. That is your Real Life Real Crime Daily for Wednesday. Any final thoughts?
Just blessed for all y'all that are listening. We love you and appreciate you, and thank you. And I love you two dudes too.
And we love you, Woody. Talk
so
to you.
much love in here.
Talk to you tomorrow, folks.
I love you. You're not getting my man. All right. Until next time, I'm Jim Chapman.
I'm Woody Overton.
And I'm Mike Agovino.
For Real Life Real Crime Daily, peace.
Sure business.
It is Ryan Seacrest here. Everybody needs some variety in life. That's what I love about Chumba Casino. They know how to keep things fresh and exciting. All their games are free to play, like spin slots, bingo, and solitaire. You can claim free daily login bonuses, too. And they release new games every week. So spice things up with ChumbaCasino.com now for your chance to redeem some serious prizes. Sponsored by Chumba Casino. No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus terms and conditions apply.